Picture this. You're in a quiet room. Someone reaches out and drags their fingernails down a chalkboard. Or maybe it's the sound of a knife scraping a ceramic plate. Or the screech of a metal chair across a stone floor. The moment the sound hits your ears, your entire body revolts. You don't just dislike the noise, you feel it in your teeth. You feel a cold, electric shiver crawl down your spine. The hairs on your arms stand up. Your stomach tightens. You might even feel a sudden, irrational flash of anger or a desperate urge to run away. You tell yourself it's just a cringe-worthy sound. You blame the high pitch. You think it's just a quirk of human hearing. But you're wrong. That physical reaction is not an accident. It is a highly calibrated survival mechanism. You aren't just hearing a noise. You are hearing a ghost. You are listening to a 2-million-year-old warning system firing at full blast. That sound, that forbidden frequency, is the sound of the end of the world. And the reason it makes your skin crawl is that every ancestor of yours who didn't feel that way was eaten alive. In 2012, a group of neuroscientists decided to study this exact phenomenon. They wanted to know why certain sounds create such a violent physical response. They played a variety of noises: glass, brakes, nails, and monitored brain activity. They found these sounds fall into a specific range, 2,000 to 4,000 hertz. This is a strange place for our ears to be sensitive. It's not the highest frequency we can hear, nor the lowest, but it is the range where the human ear is most naturally amplified. We are literally built to pick up these specific sounds better than any other noise. But here is the part that should give you chills. These sounds don't just go to the auditory cortex to be heard. They bypass logic and go straight to the amygdala, the brain's emergency panic room. The amygdala takes over the rest of the brain. It triggers the fight or flight response before you even realize what the sound is. Your brain isn't processing a noise. It's processing a threat. But what kind of threat sounds like a screeching plate? To find the answer, we have to look back at our cousins, the macaques and the chimpanzees. When a predator attacks a troop of primates, the victims don't make a low, calm sound. They emit a specific, high-pitched, harmonic-rich scream. Biologists have recorded these warning cries and distress calls. When they analyzed the frequency of those screams, they found a perfect match. The sound of a primate screaming in the jaws of a leopard is between 2,000 and 4,000 hertz. Now, go back 100,000 years. You are in the tall grass of the savannah. You cannot see the threat. The wind is blowing, the insects are buzzing, but suddenly, through the air, comes that specific frequency, a sharp, jagged screech. Your brain doesn't have time to ask, is that a bird? Is that the wind? If it did, you would be dead. Evolution built a shortcut. It wired that frequency directly into your marrow. The moment that sound hits your ears, your ancient Sentinel software interprets it as a death cry. It tells your body that one of your kind is currently being torn apart. That cringe you feel today, That's your body trying to jump out of its skin to escape a leopard that hasn't existed for 50,000 years. But it isn't just the scream of the victim. It's also the sound of the predator itself. Think about what happens when a large carnivore drags its claws across a hard surface. Think about the sound of teeth scraping against a fresh bone. Think about the screech of stone against stone as a predator moves through a cave. These are high-friction, jagged acoustic patterns. They are the sounds of the killing move. For millions of years, these noises were the last thing a human ever heard. The scraping of a claw on a rock meant a predator was repositioning for a pounce. The screech of a tooth on bone meant the feast had begun. We didn't learn to hate these sounds. The learning was done for us by the people who didn't survive. The humans who found the sound of scraping stones interesting or neutral were the ones who stayed in the cave and were killed. The humans who found the sound unbearable, the ones who felt a physical spike of terror and ran, were the ones who lived to have children. You are the descendant of the cowards. You're the product of the people who were the most easily disturbed by the forbidden frequency. This is why the reaction is so visceral. It isn't in your mind, it's in your bones. When you hear nails on a chalkboard, your body goes into emergency evacuation mode. Your blood pressure spikes, your pupils dilate. Your body shuts down non-essential functions like digestion. It's why some people feel a wave of nausea. This is the Sentinel shouting an order that is 2 million years old. It's saying, the pack is under attack. The blood is being spilled. Move now, or you are next. The reason you clench your teeth is an ancient reflex to protect your jaw from impact. The reason you hunch your shoulders is to protect your throat, the most vulnerable target for a big cat. Every part of the cringe is a specific defensive posture. You aren't just annoyed at a noise. You are literally putting on biological armor in response to a ghost. In our modern world, we have accidentally surrounded ourselves with the forbidden frequency. We invented chalkboards. We invented ceramic plates and stainless steel cutlery. We invented high-pitched brakes and industrial machinery. Every time we create these high-friction sounds, we are accidentally triggering a prehistoric panic button. We are hacking our own survival software. This is why modern life can feel so exhausting. We are constantly surrounded by false alarms. Your ancient brain hears the screech of a bus's brakes, and for a millisecond, it thinks a member of the tribe has just been crushed by a mammoth. It hears the scrape of a fork on a plate and thinks a predator is sharpening its teeth on a skull. The Sentinel is in a state of constant, low-level agitation. We call it sensory overload or stress, but it's actually a 2-million-year-old software crash. We are forcing our ancient biological hardware to process a world it was never meant to inhabit. You might wonder, if this sound is so annoying, why haven't we evolved to ignore it? Why hasn't the Sentinel learned that a chalkboard isn't a leopard? The answer lies in the cost of failure. In evolution, there are 2 types of mistakes. A type 1 error is a false alarm. You think there's a leopard, but it's just the wind. The cost is a bit of wasted energy and a racing heart. A type 2 error is a missed threat. You think it's just the wind, but it's actually a leopard. The cost is death. Evolution always favors the false alarm. It is better for you to cringe 1,000 times at a chalkboard than to ignore a predator's claw even once. The Sentinel doesn't care about your comfort. It doesn't care that you find the noise unpleasant. It only cares that you are still breathing. It would rather you suffer 1,000 nights of sensory overload than a single second of being prey. The forbidden frequency is a permanent part of the human experience because it is the most reliable alarm we have. It is the sound of survival, written in the language of fear. So, the next time you hear that sharp, jagged screech and you feel your skin crawl, don't be frustrated. Take a breath and recognize what is happening. That shivering in your spine, that is your grandfather from 100,000 years ago reaching out to save your life. That clenching in your teeth, that is the defensive reflex of a survivor who saw the dark and lived to tell the tale. We are a species of survivors, and fear is our most precious inheritance. The sounds that make us cringe are the echoes of the dangers we overcame. They are the screams that saved the pack. They are the forbidden frequencies that allowed us to climb out of the food chain and into civilization. You aren't sensitive. You are alert. You are carrying the collective memory of every hunt, every attack, and every escape in the history of the human line. Listen to the Sentinel. Respect the cringe. And remember, you are only here because your ancestors knew exactly how a scream sounded. The fire is burning. I'll see you in the next one.